Welcome to another very exciting episode of... I actually haven't named this series, but I do know the episode. This is What I Will Miss About Living Here. And it covers like the home in Pleasanton, California maybe. I don't know, West Coast. Well, I'm still going to live on the West Coast, but let's get started. So I figured we'd do, I guess, the backyard first. We'll kind of do it in sections. The backyard. Huge backyard. In fact, when I first got here, it had like the back fence had this weird plant, huge tall plant that kind of, it's the weirdest plant, but within months I dug up the whole plant. My roommate said, "What'd you do with the plant?" And it's like, it's gone. It was just, I don't know what it was called. It was like this banana tree plant or something, although no bananas. But yeah, I dug the whole thing out and that was gone. And ever since then, it was mostly gardening. I did peas and just every single vegetable I could plant back there. Lettuce. I tried everything. Tomatoes. Man, it's called holding off. Yeah, I did all sorts of that back there. And then I built planter boxes. And I had planter boxes growing out. And then it pots. And then I even took out part of the lawn. And I just put everything. Gardening was a huge thing. Biggest thing was probably the grapes. I did massive grapes out there. Never got... they weren't that great of vines. I never checked the pH level, all that stuff. But sadly, and never do this, I planted too many seeded grapes. Just always plant seedless grapes. So the seedless did great at first, but then the seeded ones started doing better. And I was like, I don't want the seeded. It's such a pain. But anyway, I think about 8 or 9 years of grapevines, and yeah, they did okay. Some years I got some great grapes, but other years I was like, so I'll miss the grapes. I can't take them with me, but I'll miss the grapes a lot. That was one of my favorite projects, the grapevines, yeah. And I did fruit trees as well. I did them in pots. They didn't grow very well in pots, but then I did them in the ground and got a lot of peaches, a lot of plums, some pomegranates, and plums. Oh, and guava pineapple. Those are pretty cool. So the gardening was a big thing. The second big thing was probably I think it was just nice having the room out there and tanning. I mean, I covered my face, of course, but I did some tanning out there, of course, every summer. That was a nice way. Although the funny thing is, when I started running a lot more, when I had my breaks, when I take my lunch break or right after work, instead of tanning, I would go out running because I'd still get tan from running. It just I get more of my shoulders and back than the front. Anyway, and I like tanning. It's just I try to always cover my face, but the rest of me, I don't care if it gets a little wrinkly. And most recently, of course, has been drone flying. It's actually nice to be out in kind of a private backyard. You send your drone up, then everyone sees it. But anyway, yeah. So actually, that was nice having a yard so I can send the drone up. But that was very brief. In all my time here, that was probably not even 5% of the time. Now for the front yard, I guess one of the biggest advantages was parking. I had come from places where parking was always a challenge. You had to get home early, or you may not get a spot. You had to drive really far away. And coming here and just always, in fact, I reserved the left half of the garage was mine. Nobody else, not even roommates could park there. That was my spot. So I'd always have a parking space. And you just don't appreciate that until it's gone. But every time I came home late or whatever, had groceries, whatever, I could just bring it in the house. I never had a problem. We just had plenty of parking here. That's a huge perk. If you live in a place where you don't have parking, you appreciate that. Car washing, I could wash my car, I could detail my car, I could fix my car, replace rotors, replace tires, just everything you could do in your car. And it took a few days, fine. It took a few weeks, fine. But it's nice having a place where you can jack up the car, get under it, replace parts, do whatever. I'll miss that. I will miss that, definitely. Yeah, that was nice. And the third part was the porch parties, which not much on my porch, but neighbors would have porch parties. One neighbor was having kegs, and we'd polish off the kegs or drink 4 bottles of wine, more than one person, most of the time. And then another neighbor had guitar, play guitar. We'd have little jam sessions over there. Those were good times. I miss those, but those have been gone for years now, probably 3 years or so. So yeah, that's gone either way. So it doesn't matter that I'm leaving. That's not an option anymore. For the garage, it's just awesome having a garage. A lot of people use the garage to park their car. They come home, they lift up the door, they drive in, close it, and they're gone. But for me, I rarely ever parked my car in the garage. It was sometimes, but almost never. Even in the cold or the hot, I just never did. Because I had so many other uses for the garage. The garage was mostly a gym. The weight set, the pull-up bar, and just everything. The Nautilus, the garage was my gym. Jump rope, practicing karate. Yeah, I really, really loved it. Out of all things, I think I'll miss the garage the most. Just having a place. When I did, even getting ready to audition for Singing in the Rain, I got out, I built a tap floor. I was practicing tap. During the show, I was able to practice, and I tried to after. I still have the shoes, still have the tap board, but I didn't practice definitely much at all. But I always wanted to. But yeah, that was nice. Yeah, and the hobbies. I mean, the 3D printing I could do out there. Anything I think of, the videos shoots I could do out there. Building my electric bike I could do out there. I loved having a garage. I will miss the garage a lot. But I will have a garage again someday. I mean, maybe even sooner than later. I love a garage. Garages are awesome. Now inside the home, the main advantage, I guess, was just a lot of space. I came from a very small condo. I mean, I had many different places I lived in, but before this was a small condo, and just having a huge living room, a family room, like the backyard, the upstairs, just there was so much room. Although I never really used it that much. That's why I think I'm fine not having that room, because I think the amount of space I actually occupy is not a lot. So downsizing is fine with me. The space was kind of wasted. It was nice though for rehearsals. I'd have the murder mystery rehearsals down here, and that would be actually kind of fun. Parties, we had some cast parties here. Those were a lot of fun. Not too many, but a few. Parties were great here. That's one nice thing about a house, and plenty of parking, and people can come in. But it's been a while since we did that. No New Year's parties in many years, and yeah, not a lot of holiday parties. Christmas parties sometimes, but yeah, the room was nice for that. A lot of privacy. That's kind of cool. You have your own space. You don't have to see people if you don't want to, but you can, and that was good. Because the family room wasn't really used that much at all in all the years after my first roommates moved out. And serenity. It was quiet. I mean, the neighborhood's a quiet neighborhood for the most part. So when there is noise, you really notice it. It's like, they're supposed to be quiet. Leaf blowers, I won't. Oh, this is what I'm going to miss. But leaf blowers, I definitely won't miss, because that's been like I didn't notice it until COVID, but like every day there's a lot of sound from that. And the security. Such a secure neighborhood. Quiet. You just feel safe. Even when a neighbor did have a catalytic converter stolen. It was a kind of a shocking thing, because it's mostly very quiet, very serene, and yeah, you feel pretty safe here. Very safe here. So I covered the home. What about the city? What about Pleasanton in general? The downtown's nice. The downtown's very nice. It's the kind of downtown that's basically dead after 9 p.m. on a weekday, a little later on the weekends, but there's not a lot to do. Mainly it's restaurants and little maybe boutique shops, but yeah, it's just not a very happening place after dark, and that's fine. That's small town. That's the kind of thing. Small. I don't know how small relatively, but it is dead after dark. County Fair being close, and I learned I could even walk there or park pretty close and find ways to kind of cross the creek and get there. So I really like the County Fair being close, although I don't go too often because it's the same exact experience every year. They don't change it at all. But every 2 or 3 years, it's fun to revisit and then realize it hasn't changed, but it's still fun. It's fun, but you don't need to go every year. I never went every year. And another nice bonus was Safeway being so close. Most of the time I did drive, but sometimes, I don't know, I'd be having some wine and realize I need more wine, and I could just walk there. Walk to get bagels at 5 in the morning when they just opened. There was some fun. I'd say it's not even a dozen times I did it in 12 years, but it was fun to be able to walk to Safeway sometimes and get things and walk home. And that was it's so convenient. Not that there's anything that's particular about Pleasanton, but I did notice that and I did enjoy that. I guess the biggest thing was the jogging trails. And again, that's not Pleasanton only, but I did get used to them. And I had so many different jogging paths where I figured out half marathons and the creek and watching the ducks and geese and otters, like the river otters. There were so many great things about the jogging here. Out of all things about the city, oddly, that's what I'll miss the most, jogging, especially during the holidays. And Halloween time, I got to see all the decorations going up in neighborhoods and some festive stuff for Thanksgiving. But then Christmas and all the Christmas lights, and I had my jogging years of right there. I got to do 1,000 miles and did even 1,200 miles one year. So the jogging, that was actually Out of all things, that's what I'm probably going to miss the most about the city. I don't know, it's crazy. Oh, and if I didn't say so before, one of the other things about the garage, I think I mentioned the gym. I did the gym and the pull-up bar, but that was actually huge. I really got into either I was into fitness or into the jogging for a big period, or I was into the weights for a big period, or just kind of go. It's hard to do both. But the Nautilus and then all the weights I'd set up in my workout programs, and even having the TV where I could watch workouts, watch myself, or watch the TV while I worked out. I got it in there somewhere. That was actually really fun. I'm going to miss that. Just having access to just doing workouts exactly the way you wanted. That was big. That was really big. And I even bought like water bottles to spray myself off. And yeah, I got so far into the fitness. And but again, it was always like I would be really big into the weights or really big into the running. But it was really hard to do both. I tried, but usually I would obsess about one or the other. Now, as far as California, I like the weather. The weather's good. I appreciate it. It's funny because it's mainly the spring and the fall that are the really good, because the winter can get pretty cold. Not like Alaska, but it's still cold for me. And it can get really hot and get 110, 112 degrees. So we do have those peaks too. So often the best months are the fall, and that's 6 months out of the year. The other months aren't awful, but it's mainly the spring and the fall that you usually get the best weather, the most pleasant weather. So yeah, the weather is a big thing to miss. People say the weather here, it is nice, but other things, I don't know. I think for California, it's mainly, now the Bay Area, well, yeah, you can go to San Francisco. Yeah, I know, but I never really went there. You can go to the mountains. I know, but if I'm in Seattle, it'll actually be a lot closer. When you go skiing, yeah, but in Seattle, it's actually a lot closer. In fact, for some of those things about California, other states have it much more. I mean, yeah, you have to be around the coast to get to the ocean, but I don't ever swim in California oceans anymore, so it's like that's a moot point. So it's just like the bonuses, unless you're using them, aren't really bonuses. So in summary, there's a lot of things I will miss about this place. And the city, and maybe even the Bay Area. The shows, it was great while they were happening, but they're just not happening as much anymore, and so maybe another location will have more opportunity for that. It actually helps having a really good, I pretty much have a really good memory for like the past and events of things that have happened in my life. I still remember first coming here, and I first remember the first roommates and the first experiences, which makes it easier in a way, because when I think about that, I think, well, I just got here, so I haven't, if you concentrate on that, you think, well, I just got here, I haven't been here that long, I just remember the old place, so it's like hopping to the new place. You forget everything after that. It's not that hard anyway. I've done my time, I've had my time here. It's been fun, it's been enjoyable, but there are new things. It was funny, because I was remembering, one of the things, I remember, it's like I was remembering back, it's like the holidays have been okay, nothing too extravagant around the holidays, but I did have the murder mystery Christmas parties here. We had like 4 or 5 of them, and those were actually really cool and really fun, but towards the end, people weren't really coming much anymore, we couldn't plan them. But my very first Christmas here, I still remember that, because sometimes I get a tree, sometimes I wouldn't, sometimes I put up lights, sometimes I wouldn't, it's like, it would vary. My first Christmas with my first roommates when we moved here, I didn't get a tree, and I just thought, I don't want to spend the money. It's like $80, and I thought, oh, why am I going to get it? But funny thing, my roommates knew about that, and on Christmas Eve, I guess it was Christmas Eve, maybe even Christmas Day, a roommate, she comes home and she has a tree. She's like, I know you wanted a tree, but you didn't want to buy a tree. And well, there's this church I was passing by, and they were done with their trees. It was for some Christmas Eve festival. And so they have free trees, so she picked one up, and I thought, it's a little late now, but I thought, also, that's cool, thank you. I thought, that actually was a real, it's funny the things you remember. I remember this tree thing, and I got the tree, I put it up for several more weeks, in January sometime, I got rid of it, but I always remember that, like, she brought me a tree on Christmas Eve.